and welcome. You're tuning in to Unbreakable Hope with me, your host, Jessica Rose. This podcast is all about seeking the light. In each episode, we chat with someone who has either overcome the darkness or who is actively spreading light within their own community. So let's jump into today's episode. Today's special guest is Katie. I'm thrilled to be introducing this powerhouse beauty of a woman who's doing so much in the leadership field. She is an attorney. She's a podcast host. She's a speaker. She's a nonprofit leader, a fashion designer, and so many more things. I can't wait to jump into this conversation and share with you a lot of the amazing nuggets she has in regards to leadership and how you can grow your confidence. So let's jump into today's episode. Thank you so much for coming on and being my guest today.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am really excited to introduce you to our audience and all the things that you're up to. I loved kind of creeping you on your websites and how we have a lot of similarities. So I'm just going to pass it to you and let you introduce yourself and we'll jump in.
Sounds great. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Winchenbach. I am an attorney, a pageant competitor, a speaker, a podcast host, and a new fashion designer. I'm wearing a lot of hats, if you can't tell. And right now, I'm the current National United States Main Mrs. 2025, getting ready to head to nationals. I'm so excited to be here today to talk about really everything, especially some of the new things that I've been doing with my platform and designing.
I love that fashion designing too. This is going to be so much fun. So, you do so many things and I'm excited to just hear about all the different hats that you wear. Let's first jump into the competition. You're competing soon. So when is that and what has that been like for you?
So I'm competing starting July 27th, so it is right around the corner. This is only my second pageant. I started doing pageants a couple of years ago with USOA, and I will be totally honest, when I was first invited, I almost said no. I didn't think I was a quote unquote pageant girl. I didn't feel like I fit the mold that they were looking for. And I was really ready to shut the whole thing down. My husband actually was like, why don't you consider this? It's a lot about community service, a lot about getting out, making relationships, getting to talk to people, getting to know other incredible women. And he was like, this seems right up your alley. So I decided to try it. And I guess you could say I caught the pageant bug. Um, and it's been really incredible. I won my first state pageant and went to nationals with USOA and just learned so much. There were so many incredible women there doing these amazing things. And I felt a little bit like a fish out of water. So now that I get to go back and do another national pageant with National United States, I feel like my prep has been totally different this time. Last time I felt like I really didn't know what I was doing. And I think that was the biggest thing that held me back. I wasn't sure what was the right thing to do. And I leaned, I think, a little bit too much on coaches and on people around me to kind of make me into this mold. So when I look back on that time at nationals, I'm like, oh, that gown was beautiful, but it wasn't really me. Or, oh, my platform was great, but wasn't really what I was passionate about. So I'm really excited this time around to just go into it and feel really good about bringing my true, like, whole self to this pageant and seeing what happens.
That is definitely something I can see. When I started, this is my second pageant and I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, I hired a coach. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me. And my coach actually really helped me formulate what I was already doing in life into my platform, which I think is really awesome. You mentioned that your platform's kind of adjusted a little bit. What is your platform now, and what is it that you're hoping to kind of get and push forward as you compete with it?
Yeah, so my platform is called Lead Fearlessly. It started as a podcast at the beginning of this year, where I interview rising women leaders and top women leaders from all industries all over the country and just have these really awesome, candid conversations about What are you struggling with? What got you to where you are? What tips do you have? And we just talk about leadership. For me, that's really my focus is supporting rising women leaders. I was a first generation law student, and when I graduated law school, I felt like I had to navigate a lot by myself. It's kind of like entering a whole new world. And especially for me, that kind of leadership aspect and finding my confidence. I started at a firm where I was the only female attorney, which is a adjustment to be the only woman in the room and be able to still own that room and feel like you really belong there. So from that experience, I realized just how important it is to have other women lift each other up, have a network, and just have people you can talk to when you're like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I don't know what my next move is. So that's really what I focus on is just creating that community and connecting women to help uplift each other.
I think that's so important. I was just having a conversation with another woman on her podcast, and she had asked me about my military experience being the only female. So I actually, when I was the only female in my shop, it was great. I had minimal issues at all. But it was actually when I moved to a section where it was half and half that it seemed like as women, generalizing, we tend to take each other down so much. And we already have those things like the imposter syndrome and just trying to feel like we're in the right space. I love that you've created this lead fearlessly to say, hey, there's amazing women leaders. There's women who want to lead other women and make spaces better and help you navigate some of these conversations. Because like you said, being a first generation law student, some people in their homes, they're still the first person to go to any kind of college or go into a career field, whether it's in our industries or it's in the corporate world, whatever that looks like. So it's cool that you've created that space. I think that's really necessary. I'm sure you get this a lot. And I know it's one of my favorite movies, but I'm going to say it anyway, Legally Blonde. So when you were saying that, I
Oh,
instantly was thinking so many comparisons to that. What does that feel like being on the real life side of being a beautiful woman who is a fearless leader, who's also a fashion designer, competing in pageants, but a serious lawyer helping so many people?
it's really cool now that I'm in it. I was really hesitant at first, not even just to start pageants, but to branch out and do modeling, do fashion design, because I felt like I needed to fit in this box. And it definitely took me time to build up that confidence to realize that I can be a really good attorney, but I can also be doing all of these other things. When I was younger, I actually said I wanted to be a fashion designer or a fashion journalist. I went to undergrad for journalism, and planned to live in New York and work at fashion magazines. Gave it a try, and just realized it wasn't the right fit. So it's something that's always kind of been an interest of mine. And I think it really was for me about finding that confidence and realizing that I don't have to just put myself in a box and do one thing. Once I started doing pageants, I that was like my first yes. That was the first like, okay, I'm gonna really push myself out of my comfort zone. I don't know what's gonna happen. I didn't know how my coworkers would react to any of that. I just kind of went for it and was like, I'll figure it out as I go. I didn't tell them for the longest time. Like I won a state title before I even mentioned to any of my coworkers that I was doing a pageant. Because I like didn't know, it's a group of attorneys, and I'm like, are they gonna take me seriously? I'm fortunate to work in a really, really awesome company. I work with really supportive people. I'm still the youngest, really in our leadership team. So you're always still that imposter syndrome creeps in every once in a while, and you're like, should I tell these people that I'm doing this? But once I did, they were so excited. They're like, "Oh, let me see the pictures. Like, we want to know what you're doing. We want to cheer you on." And having that support too was really great. And once I kind of got over that initial hurdle, it was so much easier when opportunities would come to just say, okay, I'll try it. And I've realized that I had to overcome that fear and have the confidence in myself that I can do new things. I can learn new things. And sometimes I do it and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to do that again. Though I didn't enjoy that. That wasn't great. But then it opens doors to so many things that I never thought I would be doing.
That probably ties in a lot to the lead fearlessly is as a leader we grow and we develop in trying to find things that work to support the people we're leading but also work to fulfill our own pursuits, our own passions, our own values, those kind of things. Is there something that you see being a leader and wearing all these hats that do you feel like there's a time where those values kind of conflict? And how do you move forward as a leader through those positions?
It's really hard when you're first starting out because I think you want to be everything for everyone. And that's such a natural feeling. But for me, it's been a journey of finding like what's important to me. What are my kind of core values? I know it's kind of like a buzzword nowadays, but it is really true. Like, what's really important to me and how do I want to show up? And that sounds easy when you say it like that. And I know it's really, really hard. It takes practice, it takes building your confidence in yourself to know, like, I can stand up for what I believe in. And any time where I've found that I'm not feeling great about somewhere I'm at, or I am feeling that kind of conflict, it's because something around me isn't in line with how I want to show up or how I want to be. And it takes a lot of kind of introspection to look and be like, what is not right here? And what do I need to change? And then, a lot of confidence to say, all right, I'm going to make the change. But it's amazing when you get over that hurdle and you do that, you feel so much better and it makes taking the other steps so much easier.
I definitely agree with that. One thing, I'm a caregiver to my husband with brain cancer, and something that's got me through all these years is can my soul rest with the decisions I've made for the day? So, really analyzing it and going back to the value card sort and saying, okay, where am I at right now in my life? Because and I feel like I start to drift, or when I start getting all that, I am overwhelmed and I max out. Okay, why? What do I need to change? But I love how you pointed that out. Like that takes a special level of confidence and ability to say, hey, something's not right first, recognizing that, labeling that, but also saying, I need to do something about it. And then taking the action to do something about it is huge. Where do you think people get stuck the most when it comes to improving their leadership?
I really think it's confidence. I talk about confidence a lot when I do workshops, when I do keynotes. Confidence is always kind of woven in there because the truth is with leadership, there's no one way to do it. I can't come here and teach you how to lead because everybody has their own style. I love what you said. Like, you need to be comfortable with the decisions that you've made. You need to be comfortable with the choices that you make at the end of the day. And I can't tell you what that is. So, what I think is really the key for rising leaders is building that confidence in yourself to make those decisions, to stand up and say, this doesn't sit right with me. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Or, I know everybody else leads their teams this way. That's not how I want to show up. I remember I was promoted about a year ago in my company to lead a team of attorneys. And I'd never been a people manager before. I kind of had no clue what I was doing. One of those other, like, okay, yes, we'll figure it out moments. And we were on a call with all of the team leads talking about different success strategies since there were a few of us that had just gotten promoted. And so many of the other leads were like, I have structured team meetings. We have agendas. We do exercises. People give presentations. And I'm thinking back to my team meeting that was, we all vented. People share photos of their dog, like no structure whatsoever. And I really, at first, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong. Like, I screwed up my team. They're like never going to recover. And it took me a second to realize like that structured setup. Some meetings we do a little more structure. It can be beneficial, but that's not how I show up. It's not how I wanted to run the team. So I decided to just keep going with a little bit less structure, some time for them to vent, some time for all of us to get to know each other and share what we did over the weekend, because that's the personalities that I have in my group. And that's how I show up. And I think we've really been able to come together and our team is performing really well. And it was just that matter of me saying, wait a minute, I don't need to jump and change because other people are doing something. But to do that, it really does take that confidence for you to say, you know what? Like, I feel like this is the path that I'm going to do. This is how I want to show up. And so many young leaders I think try to fit in, try to fit the box, and end up sacrificing what makes them unique and what makes them powerful. And they're not leveraging their own strengths because they're so worried about what everybody else is doing or what everybody else is thinking. And it's such an easy trap to fall into.
Oh yeah. It makes me think of too where this is how we've always done it. And that
Hmm.
sometimes we need the fresh perspectives. And I use the comparison of resources are like ice cream. There's so many different flavors for a reason. If you
I
give me
love that.
mint chocolate chip, we cannot be friends. Like mint does not go in food in my book. So sorry if that friendship's over. But I am a chocolate chip cookie dough person. So as you're comparing these two different styles of just team meetings, even, it really got me thinking of times in my life on different teams I've been involved in. And I remember when I was in the Marine Corps leading, to learn, or at least I guess I didn't have to, I chose to, right? I wanted to know how each of my people learned the best. Say, okay, well, this style to teach this guy this thing, this guy's not going to retain it that same way. So, how can I make sure to develop it in a way that this guy will learn? And I think that's really valuable to say, hey, this other group, it may be great for them, the structure and everything they're doing, but your group has been able to thrive with these things too. And finding, again, what works for you and ultimately what works for your team and saying, okay, like this is how I want to go and this is how I want to lead and we'll move forward. I think another thing with leaders being open for suggestion, this is probably another hard one, right? Open for suggestion and improvement, but also being able to have the authority and boundaries that still says at the end of the day, I'm still the one in charge. Are there some tips that you might have for that? I'm sure these are things you cover in your trainings as well.
I love it. I love talking about this stuff. I think it's just really important. You know, it is hard when you get feedback. I think everyone's immediate reaction is, oh my gosh, I have to change. I've gotten constructive criticism. I need to implement it. And I always say the first thing you need to do is think about who it's coming from. Is this a person who you respect, who you like their leadership style? I mean, if this is a person that you're like, I do not want to end up doing what they're doing. I mean, don't listen to it. You know, and is this a person who knows your job, who knows you? Like, there's so many things to think about. You have to kind of look at where this is coming from. And then, even if it is someone, if it's your boss, it's a friend, someone you're really close with, like, do you like this advice? And it's really hard because that requires you to actually pause and say, like, can I improve here? Like, really look at yourself hard and be like, is there room for improvement? I know nobody likes to do that because it's really vulnerable, like opening yourself up to be like, oh, could I improve here? But you have to be open to that if you want to be able to grow. You can't be like, I'm perfect. I'm doing everything great. Like, you're never gonna progress. And then it's kind of that, like, once you've done that analysis, if you're like, yeah, this is coming from a really good source and I can see what they're talking about, then put steps in place to implement it. And if not, if you're like, this does not feel like me, I don't even know this, some lady on the street yelling at me, like whatever it might be, then let it go. And like really let it go. Not like I put it in the back of my mind and I'm going to think about it and it's going to keep popping up and I'm going to feel bad about myself. Like let it roll and don't think about it again. And know like that person was trying to help. I heard the feedback. I thought about it. It wasn't for me. So I'm going to pass it on.
That's really great. I'm like imagining like an actual like filing cabinet, like boop boop, put it
Yeah.
in. It's done. Move
Does
on.
it go in the top drawer where it's like, this is something I want to revisit? Or does it go in the shredder next to,
Yeah.
like, I never want to see this again? As it is, you cannot take every piece of advice
Yeah.
ever. If you do and you try to follow that,
Yeah.
you're really going to lose who you are and how you want to be because everybody else is going to be molding you in the wrong ways.
Yeah. And then you're not going to find your style. And the whole time you're trying to be 100 different people at once. And it just goes back to the flavors of ice cream. Rainbow sherbet works with only certain flavors. Like you can't have them all. I think that's something that a lot of people, as they're growing in different roles and different positions, and like you had mentioned before, being able to say, yes, I can be a serious attorney that does amazing work and I'm really knowledgeable, but I can also be working on creative projects like fashion designing and my appearance, because I think a lot of people get that confused and it's judgmental, but I think that when we look good, we feel good,
Mhm.
right? If we're feeling good, we're going to be doing good work.
Yep.
We're going to be representing ourselves, our inner self on the outside. And that's what I love about fashion is I used to do like little sketches when I was a kid and make some clothes for like my Barbies and stuff. And I always loved it to this day. I still love it. I still have all my Barbies. And I'm like, I love just the outward expression of what's on the inside. I think that's so fun. Is that something that you're really getting to toy with, as I'm kind of like shifting over to the part where you talked about the fashion design? You're really getting to be able to bring all that like knowledge and that powerhouse leadership that you have, but now putting it into clothing as well.
Yeah. I think what's really important is exactly what you said. When you look good, you feel good. And we've talked so much today about how leadership and showing up is confidence based. And clothing definitely does fit into that. I know, like, when I run to the grocery store and I've got my sweats on and my hoodie on and I see someone I know, I'm like, man, like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't feel great. This is not the time where I want to like strike up a conversation and be my most dazzling self. So you really do like, I agree with you. Some people think it's like superficial or don't put too much into how you look, but the truth is you have to feel good about that part of you. So I'm really excited to start getting into this design world, and being able to just make some clothes that when you put them on, you're like, oh, I feel great. Like I feel like I'm ready to go out and just conquer the world. And that's the attitude that I want to bring to like every woman out there. I just want you, whether it's your clothes, your hair, whether you listen to your pump up song in the car on the way to somewhere, like we need to just approach everything with this attitude of like, we're here, we're awesome, we're ready to go. Like, let's do it. And clothes are a huge part of that.
I was just at a mock pageant. So where my coach is a coach at, they had kind of a run through for a bunch of us. And there was a girl who was dressed in this gorgeous, like hot pink. There was cropped pants. It had this gorgeous, like cropped top with a jacket. It was perfectly fitted. It had bling. And me and another girl were like, we would just wear that to the mall, like just to walk around. Like that is how I want to look all the time. It just, I think of that like that's my personality on the outside, like bright colors, all blinged out, wonderful. But it's a completely different feeling. And I feel like everyone can relate to that. If they can't, I mean, that goes back to different flavors of ice cream. I got a friend who he only wears black, like he just always in black. But I think that the sweatpants versus like your best dress and seeing how you feel in that day, like that alone brings out the energy and goes back to, yeah, just what you're saying, brings out the confidence, which then is going to bring out your ability to be a more effective leader because you're confident in your decision making. Your team's going to feel more comfortable when you come in very decisive with your decisions. I think that's really cool. And I can't wait, like, selfishly, I can't wait to see what you come up with and where that journey goes for you.
I'm
Um,
excited. We just launched the resort wear collection at Miami Swim Week. And now I'm in the process of getting the inventory shipped here. This side of my office, this side looks beautiful. This side of my office is about to be a warehouse. So we had this chat at a great time while I still have a blank space to do a podcast. And we're working on getting an Amazon store set up. So I'm so excited to just be able to put this out there. And then, of course, because, why stop? I'm working on a collection that's going to come out in the fall called the Bling Collection. Hmm.
I'm so excited. We're gonna have to have links to all these things in the description, because this is exciting. And I know you wear so many hats like myself. That's why I was so excited. I share with you about. I immediately went on your website and I saw kind of how your header was set up. I was like, this is like mine. I love it. Like we're destined to be friends. I do want to give you a little bit of time too during our chat if you want to talk about being an attorney, if that's something that you can promote those services, and what are maybe some of the other things that people might want to utilize all that knowledge that you do have as well as the beauty piece.
Yes. So I'm an in-house attorney. I do not work for a firm anymore, so I don't have clients. But I love my job. And I think that for a lot of lawyers is a little bit of an unconventional journey. When I was in law school, I realized pretty quickly I didn't want to work at a law firm. And that was a bit of a panic moment. I got through like halfway through law school and I was like, I hate every internship I've ever done. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then you're like too far in. I'm going to back out. So I kept going. And I really found this path doing contracts. I negotiate complex commercial contracts. For most people and attorneys, they're like, oh my God, just gouge my eyes out. I don't want to do that. That sounds so terrible. I personally love it. I think it's my writing background. So it's just another kind of one of those testaments to like you have to stay true to yourself and what you find interesting. I graduated in the top 8% of my class and I was really pushed by our career services folks. Like, you've got to go to one of the big law firms. You've got to do these big on-campus interviews that we do. They really push kind of like they take the top 10% of the class and they're like, you got to go, you got to go. And there were some moments where I was like, am I making a huge mistake? I did no large law firm interviews. None. I turned down every single one. And I think my career counselor was probably like having a heart attack. But I just knew, like deep down, the
Yeah.
thought of going into a law firm, billing 2000 hours, like I just didn't want to do it. I just knew like this is not how I want to spend the rest of my time. And like I said, it was not a popular decision, but it worked out. And I think that's really so important for everyone to remember. It's like you do not have to take the path that everybody is telling you to take. You don't have to take the path that other people are taking. This whole journey, whether it's pageantry, whether it's your career, leadership, like it's all up to you. And I think a lot of times when we talk about leadership, we think about it understandably in the context of I'm in my job. How can I show up as a people leader? How can I show up as, a leader, as an individual contributor? But it's more than that. It's having the confidence and the skills to be able to say, I don't want this promotion. This is not right for me. I want to start a family. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to go part-time. I want to start my own business. all of those things are leadership skills, and you're showing up and you're being a leader with your family, with your friends, in your job, yes, but that's just one part of it. And I think when I look back on my journey and the things that I've done and I've said yes to, for me, so much of the growth has come from things outside of work, from saying yes to pageants, from agreeing to meet with a talent agency, from agreeing to do a fashion line when I knew essentially nothing about it. Like all of those things are where you really grow and where you build your confidence. And like none of them were at work.
I love the mixture of things. And another great point in leadership and not following the mold is, and all the different flavors of ice cream, like with doctors, with lawyers, like everyone, there's so many niches within the niches. I have a friend who's a lawyer, and she basically and she, if she listens to this, she's gonna be like, that's not how you would describe it, but this is how I describe it. Okay, is that she's basically a researcher for a lawyer. For she works, she's an in-house lawyer too, but she just research. She doesn't hardly ever have to go into court. So when you think of a lawyer, you're like, a lawyer is a researcher. Well, my background is research. So her and I have like so much in common on like this research side point. I'm like, I love research, and there's so many places that can take you. Just like you're saying, hey, I was the top 8 in my class, but that doesn't mean I want to go do murder cases at a big law firm. You know, there's so many different needs for attorneys and lawyers, and you're finding the thing that works for you, that makes you happy, and then you're able to explore these other things. I also think that's great that you made the point of, it's not always your primary thing, is not always like your career or your job that helps you actually grow in your career and job. It's the things we do outside, the networking, the self growth through pageantry. What is with that? What is maybe one thing, or it's always hard to like narrow it down, right? But something that you learn from pageantry that you feel has really helped grow all the other aspects of your life.
I love this question because I mean, you're right. There's how do you pick one? But I think for me, it's unapologetically dreaming big and going for things that are scary. I did not think I would win a state title. I didn't think I'd ever go compete at a national pageant. I did not think I would ever have a podcast. Like all of these things before I started competing in pageants, I realized I was thinking really small. I was so focused on every day and all right, what am I going to do at work? What am I going to make for dinner? Like, and that's important. Like, you got to feed the family. But it wasn't like I didn't really feel like I was thinking outside of the box at all. And pageantry really challenged me to not put myself in a box. And I wrote down a list of goals the other day for my podcast and for the Lead Fearlessly platform of, I want to do 5 more speaking engagements this year. I want the podcast to reach, 5 new countries this year. I want, and, planning out all of those things. And I kept challenging myself, like, what's next? Like, what's bigger? What's to come? And also reflecting back and thinking, a year ago, I didn't even think I would have a podcast. Now I'm here going, okay, we've expanded to 3 countries. I want to expand to 5 more. Okay, we had, 100 listeners in our first month. How do we get it to 10,000 listeners this year? And just still feeling that momentum and leaning into it instead of saying, oh, this is scary. What if you launch a podcast and nobody listens? What if you want to do an appearance and nobody shows up? I mean, like those things really can paralyze you if you focus on that. But if you just know the value that you bring, like I felt so passionately about starting this platform because I felt like these are things that women need. These are things that I needed. I know other people out there need them. and I'm going to find a way to bring it to them. And we'll do trial and error. And if we need to change the way we're doing it, we'll do it. But we just have to get started. We just have to start doing something and start following that passion. And things really do fall into place when you take that first step.
And having such a thirst for life and growth and joy, it's really refreshing. I know I'm the kind of person that does a million things at once. And I'm like, what more can I do? There's a song by Terry Clark called I Want to Do It All. If you haven't heard of it, it's she just lists all these things in the song that she wants to do. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Let's go. Let's do this. So I love how much that there's this spark in you for going and achieving, but you're also like achieving and going to help other people too, which is really great because I think a lot of people do amazing things for their immediate family, their immediate friends, their communities, and they don't always get to get like the analytics like we do with podcasts. So I think of that as if anyone's listening and they're still doing stuff in their community, still helping in whatever way, think of it that way as you may not be able to see your analytics like we can for the podcast, but you're still making a difference. And how cool is that to actually have the analytics to say, I'm being listened to in 3 countries. Like, let's go. How far can this go? How many more lives can be inspired and changed by this? It's really awesome. And I love just your passion and joy for all of these different things and all these different hats that you wear in life. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah, this has been great. I knew, like I said, I knew when I saw your website and everything, I'm like, oh, we're gonna have so much in common. And I love how much that you're doing for yourself, but doing for others and being a real champion of hope in the community. So I want to give you a moment. I know we've been chatting and we're coming close to the time. If you have some final thoughts or if there's something maybe we missed that you want to make sure that we cover so our listeners know.
Yeah, I think if I could just leave everybody with one kind of overall thought, it's believe in yourself. Like you are capable of so much more than you think you are. When I do these workshops with women leaders, when we're talking about leadership, the thing that I see so often is that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome creeping in, that lack of confidence. And I think, especially as women, we really underestimate what we're capable of. Like, you do not need to have all of the answers to go forward and to take steps and to try to do things. And I just feel like everybody listening just needs to hear that. Like you can do it. I promise. Whatever it is, no matter how scary it is, no matter how unknown it is to you, like you have the skills and the intelligence to figure it out. And I think we all just need to give ourselves a little bit more credit than we are now for what we can do.
100% agree with that. There's so many options and opportunities out there. And sometimes another thing that I think we lightly touched on too is your support people who you
Mhm.
surround yourself with. Is that if you don't have anybody, you can still do it, but having support systems and people are even great. Like you said, your husband really encouraging you to take that yes into pageantry is also trying to find those people that are going to help encourage you, build you, grow you, push you into the uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, and the truth is, you will find those people, and you will also find people that are not super happy with your success, who don't want to uplift you, and who maybe don't have the confidence in themselves to do these things and are feeling some jealousy that you're over there totally kicking butt. And it's okay to be selective of the people that are around you. 100%. One of my friends has a quote, and if she's listening to this, she's gonna be like, "Girl, that's not what I said at all." And I really need to like write it down and stick it on a post-it. But it essentially ties into like you are who you spend your time with. She has a statistic she uses. It's really impactful, and I've just totally screwed it up. But it really is about like who are the people you're spending your time with because they are influencing you 100%. And when you want to go for things and you want to do things and you want to do those yeses that are kind of a little crazy, You need those people in your corner. You do not need someone telling you that you can't do it. You don't need someone who's trying to bring you down. So definitely go out there and find your people because they're there and they will cheer super, super loud for you. And it makes a huge difference.
I love that. They get top filing cabinet access. Everybody else gets the shred bin. I love all the amazing analogies and stuff that we've talked about today. Thank you so much again for your time and coming on here and just your light and your wisdom and all the amazing things you're doing to really help build other leaders and being such a beautiful leader in your own.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such an incredible and super fun conversation.
Awesome. Well, good luck at your competition. I can't wait to see how you do, and we'll have all the links to connect in the description below.
So thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you found this episode inspiring, please share it with someone you never know who needs more light in their life. May this serve as a reminder that there's always darkness in the world. Do not let it consume you. Always seek the light. Please take a moment to do the good old subscribe, rate, and review. Your support means so much to me, and it helps me spread more light and love. Until next time, be kind, be loving, be human, and don't ever let anyone steal your hope.